Want to join us now on the line is Joe DiGenova, our legal analyst. Joe, how are you?
Very, very fine.
Joe, you have been at the forefront of digging into the Benghazi matter. I want to play with you an old clip from October of 2012. This is the President of the United States talking to Jon Stewart.
If 4 Americans get killed, it's not optimal.
Right.
And we're going to fix it.
Right.
And
all of it.
All of it. And what happens during the course of a presidency is that, you know, the government is a big operation. At any given time, something screws up. And you make sure that you find out what's broken and you fix it.
Well, the president said he was going to find out what was broken and they were going to fix it, and there was this accountability review board. But now there's a report coming out from the House Oversight Committee Republicans which says that review board was not independent. It failed to hold senior State Department officials accountable for what happened. It downplayed the importance of decisions made at senior levels, and they point specifically to a guy by the name of Patrick Kennedy, an undersecretary of state, who they say completely escaped scrutiny in this matter. What is your thought about this, Joe?
Well, as you know, Brian, from the beginning, we have told the world that the ARB report was a cover-up. It was purposefully incompetent. It was designed to protect Hillary Clinton and Patrick Kennedy and others in the senior levels of the State Department. The failure at Benghazi was a failure that covered several years. There were repeated requests for increased security, and instead of increasing security, Hillary Clinton and Patrick Kennedy reduced the contingent of security personnel from 30 to 10 at the time of the attack. Not only that, Ambassador Pickering purposely did not interview Hillary Clinton. They did not take transcript testimony. They didn't allow anyone to review their testimony to see if it had been recorded accurately. What you have seen from the beginning was an effort to protect Hillary Clinton for a future run for president. Ambassador Pickering was part of that. He hopes to get another big job in a Clinton administration. Patrick Kennedy has been at the site of every major security failure in an American embassy in the last 10 years and has never been held accountable. What you are watching is an arrogance of power, part of an imperial presidency in which the Democrats believe that they can never be held accountable, and they act that way. The only difference here is that 4 Americans, brave Americans, died, and no one was sent to rescue them. And that's what the president wants to change the subject about. That's what Ambassador Pickering was trying to cover up. And poor Admiral Mullen, what a pathetic example of a military person to be part of such a disgusting cover-up. They all should be embarrassed, but you know what? They're not, because they believe they can beat this and have the mainstream media help them. But it's not going to work. Benghazi is never going away. I told you guys last week, the ghost of Benghazi is going to linger over this president and Hillary Clinton and Ambassador Pickering and Patrick Kennedy until the lives of those 4 Americans are vindicated with the truth. The truth has never been told. When people find out about what happened with the arms...
All right, so to hold it, you've hinted around at this for quite a bit. What do you know?
What I know is this, Brian, is that the shipment of arms in and out of Libya was the major reason that activities went wrong at the annex in Benghazi.
And specifically what was going in and out.
Troops were not sent from Croatia when they were ready to go, and General Ham was prevented from sending them there.
And you know this how?
I know it from talking to people who have direct personal knowledge.
Joe, and Dan Bongino here, not just that Charlie 110 team, but there was also the FEST team, that Foreign Emergency Support Team, that is supposed to respond to incidents like this. That's why they're called the Foreign Emergency Support Team. And we also had the Spec Ops operators in Tripoli as well. So it wasn't just that one group of guys didn't respond. It was multiple units were told to stand down. And I had brought up before, if you could just speak to this topic, that I read the ARB. What was interesting about the ARB is the DOD offered the State Department, offered them free of charge to them, to the State Department, additional security, and the State Department turned it down because they didn't like the optics, the aesthetics of it. How pathetic is that?
That's absolutely true, because Hillary Clinton, actually, what's interesting, I'll give you an example of why the ARB report is false. It said that the Ambassador Stevens went to Benghazi independent of the Department of State. That's nonsense. He was sent there by Hillary Clinton, who wanted Benghazi to be a permanent installation, and it had to be done before the end of September for budgetary reasons. That's why Stevens went there. And the notion that that Pickering's people could put that in and say that he went there for reasons independent of department is just an example of why the report was false. And it's also an example, they didn't want more military people there. They wanted it to be non-confrontational. They didn't like the fact that there would be a large contingent of security people. And that was Clinton's decision, nobody else's, hers and Patrick Kennedy. It's the reason that the people at Benghazi were denuded of sufficient security. This was a massacre waiting to happen.
All right, so getting back to what you think was going on at the annex, I want to drill down on this just a little bit. You're saying that there was something going on there that had to do with weapons being shipped in and out of that annex.
That's absolutely
Where
correct.
were they coming from, and where were they going to?
And we know categorically that the weapons were Russian weapons, that they had been cleaned of any indications. We know categorically that they were being readied to be sent to Syria and Turkey, and that was stopped by the militias in Libya, and those weapons, that was the reason that the militias and the various groups went to the annex and to the consulate to get the weapons.
So are you suggesting then that the reason there was no military response is that the administration did not want anyone to see what was going on there, and is that the same reason that it took so dadgum long for the FBI to get in there? They needed to scrub the site.
That was one of the reasons, and the reason the FBI didn't get in and weren't allowed to get in was because when Susan Rice went on television and lied about the reason, she insulted the president of Libya, who had called it a terrorist attack. He was so furious when he heard Susan Rice 5 times on that Sunday say something that he, the president of Libya, knew was not true, and that he was telling the American media that it was a terrorist attack. He was so insulted that he shut down cooperation with the United States government, and that's why the FBI didn't get in.
Joe?
That's why Susan Rice is not Secretary of State.
Can you hang on for just a minute? I got one more question I want to ask you after we take the commercial break, okay? Joe DiGenova, our legal analyst, still on the line. Wanted to ask you very quickly about Marion Barry, Joe, because Marion Barry looks like is going to be censured today and have his committee chairmanship stripped of him. At least that's the way it looks like right now.
Yeah, well, why is anybody surprised by this? I mean, this is a man who destroyed local government, who made the city an embarrassment, and has been rewarded by being reelected as mayor, elected to the Council of the District of Columbia. And remember, this is a city that wants to be a state. You've got to be kidding.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
just wanted
Joe.
to get you on the record on that one.
Great to be with you guys.
Always a pleasure, Joe. Thanks a lot.